application to the CTC for this, I believe that we can do that. But tying it to this, what we have here, I think is not good for us, and it's not good for what we're trying to do. So that's I'm making a motion to amend. That's my motion. Do I get a second? Anybody?
Well, just wait a minute. I'm still running the meeting.
All right.
There is a separate motion or a motion to separate out the shoaling project from the application or the resolution of endorsing the application for the Northern Freight Corridor Resolution Project. Is there a second?
Excuse me, I got a process question, Roy. Doesn't the original maker of the motion have to accept this as a friendly amendment?
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe you.
Yes.
Wow, you're good at this. If I'd known that, I'd made the motion.
No, there's got to be an amendment to the motion.
Well, I guess that's me, huh? Well, with all due respect, I can't accept it because, and the reason I say that is, I know all the work that's been done throughout the state to create a state transportation system. And I know the work that we've done on that behalf. And I think that it would be a more powerful grant if we remained as a partner with the North Coast Railroad Authority. So I can't do that. So.
Okay, the separate, the amendment to the motion fails for lack of acceptance from the previous motion maker. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will have a roll call vote on this, please.
Commissioner Capdiamont.
Aye.
Commissioner Curtis.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Nay.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Commissioner Higgins.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of adoption of resolution 20803 establishing legislation priorities for the 208 legislative session.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded that we approve resolution 20803. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have some discussion.
Okay.
Typically, we approve who gets appointed to committees at this meeting. Is that not on the agenda? That's at our next meeting. Okay, well then I'm going to get to the agenda item. Yeah, I got the couple. You need to go to the bathroom? All right, I'm gonna ask these questions in a very slow, methodical manner, so that Ronnie can do what I wish I could do right now. She can hear him in there. She can hear him in there? Oh. Okay, Ronnie. Maybe you want to hear this?
What do you want to say about Ronnie?
Okay. Let's see here. This is the old one.
You want to take about 5 minutes until she does get back here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. We will take about a 5 minute break here until Ronnie comes back. Maybe someone else wants to use the restroom.
That's it. We still can.
It's almost like my whole
How are you? I know. No, I had to make that call when I saw it. The recording is over? Yes. Yeah, I put yesterday's meeting on. I wrote the show.
Really? I think there's a great rails. I know. I want to mention, I forgot about Cotton Valley, New Hampshire, state of New Hampshire, attitude. We're not going to get rid of any if we do, it's going to cost us, even when we have to replace every rail if we convert them to trails, we're not going to. We're not going to. What would we do? I wouldn't a church rails. Don't know how much rail is crystallized. I know that there some tabs. I know that there are. I haven't seen them out there, but I know there are some broken in Manila. There's a broken rail that they finally fixed. And the rail would actually jump about like this, but when the trucks came in the way, it could come down together like this. And when the car would go, one rail would go up or down like this, and it would be almost a 2-foot raising. And there was no spikes. They spikes. They come out and actually spike it. And the first time a train went by, the spikes would all go flying. And for about 6 feet on each side of the brake, there'd be no spikes, and the rail would be going like this.
You replace the rail, or you got to put it in joiners?
Yeah.
Huh. I was just wondering that I don't see me talking about CRA and them don't see me talking.
Even though they're trying to distance, I don't know. I use the anti-rail. Even though it's the rule, I got the rest of preserve. And that's the other group that I remember that I forgot to mention is the National Rail Preservation Group.
Well, it's hard though. Once you get up there, don't you?
No, I should have because I could have mentioned I could have. I also wanted to say, yeah, I've lived in Humboldt County for the last 39 years. But I've been part of the North for all but 3 years of my life, beginning in 1953. So, I don't remember too much in 1953, but I remember stuff up here in 1954, 55, 56, 57, 58, and on. Oh, I've been here. Well, I've been here when there was still rail. Yeah. So, I've been here before there was the freeway, and then there was the truck line.
And in 1964, when nothing in this county moved except a fleet of aircraft or helicopters from an aircraft carrier, and the railroad
Nobody tried to stop the or it just went down. I was the only thing to play with. Nobody from any of the cities or districts or districts. And the railroad got abandoned. belong to a private company who immediately stripped the 100-year-old forests that line the entire railroad tracks, took all of that money, diverted it off out of the tracks and out of our properties, and then which destabilized the tracks. And then we go and buy it back again after it's been stripped of its one. I was on the city council. I voted against that to maintain hospital. Nobody was there. Nobody in either of these communities. Not the people that showed up to the harbor. Who was there in '84? Nobody was standing up to stop that. When we really had stability, because of this force that was there, we had an asset base that could have sustainably logged through there instead of clear cut.
Breathe down, Roy. Come on, rubber hole.
That's my history with the railroad, and I saved it. I'm glad to hear it. Tried to.
Okay, we'll bring this meeting back to order, please. And we're talking about Resolution 20803, establishing legislative priorities for the 2008 legislative session. And
We had a motion and a second.
And that's on the floor, right?
it's on the floor, right?
We're going to discuss.
Resolution, yes.
Okay, just a couple of things. Under federal government, number 8, support federal legislation that would improve long-term health and recovery of the Klamath Eel rivers to protect and enhance anadromous fish populations. I'd like to propose that we add advocating for the removal of the dams on the Klamath River and the Eel River as well.
Gladly accepted.
So, I don't know quite what the language is, but I bet Pat could probably do that one. He can name them, so.
I think you just, oh yeah, you need the names of the dams?
I don't know.
Just support Klamath and Trinity or Klamath?
Klamath and Eel.
Klamath and Eel.
Eel?
Support
We'll work on the
Klamath
Trinity
dam
after.
removal efforts.
Yeah, dam removal, something like that, Dave? Okay, that's my first one.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, I always have this beef with Roy about the, when we support trail things, and there's this whole thing there, do not interfere with private property rights. I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah, private property right, because I'm a private property owner.
Me too. I have several private properties myself, but all I'm saying is it's number 7 under the state of California.
Thank you.
And it basically says support grant applications for the establishment of bayside trail planning and construction throughout Humboldt Bay, provided it does not interfere with private property rights. I could add that to pretty much every single one of our proposals here.
So you're suggesting just scratching that last part of it?
I'm just proposing to scratch it, although I believe in saying property rights that I think that Mr. Curlis is referring to. I just think it's inconsistent because we don't require that of any of our other mandates. And so I'll let Roy, if he cares or doesn't care.
Well, my feeling is that I don't mind the trails and things. It's just that I don't want to force a trail across a piece of property. And the reason I say that, several years ago, it was brought up by the county, and I don't see John still here. I'd like to let him know what I think about it. But anyway, he's gone, and that's fine with me. But anyway, the county was going to force a trail through a Williamsville contract. The guy said, "Okay, fine. You can put a 4-foot trail through there. However, you've got to fence it on both sides. Every so often, you'll have to put a bridge over it so the cattle can go between one pasture and the other." And I think that this will cause a problem when you start going across private property. Mm-hmm. And that was my concern on it. And that's why I felt that it would keep us out of, being sued over property rights.
Okay.
On this one, I like the way that it is.
Okay, we'll keep it. Number 13, and this is one I've always thought was, if number 13 the state of California, which is oppose all state legislation or state agency action or proposal that would reduce or further restrict existing coastal dependent industrial zoning in Humboldt County. In Humboldt County, we have over 1,000 acres of coastal dependent industrial zoning. The Port of Oakland is 900 acres. If we are not to be the Port of Oakland, as people say, then I think I think the concept that we may be overstocked in this particular zoning should be considered. And I'd like maybe something to say oppose inappropriate state legislation, or I don't know what it is, but this is so it's the word I'm looking. It's anyways, it's just that it's so absolutist, I guess. And
What about just eliminating the word all?
oppose state legislation? Okay, I'll take that one.
No,
As a
I see what you're saying about absolute.
it's just so absolutist, and I think that we have folks that are, that have coastal dependent industrial lands along Humboldt Bay that have already sort of done other things, and I think creating a little bit more creativity in how the ability to see what we can do along Humboldt Bay will increase economic vitality, and certainly when you look at some of the studies done by developers along Humboldt Bay, many of them look at this as a restriction and not a good thing, or a benefit or an opportunity. And so, especially because we are so overstocked in all of their reports, when they try and do development, will always come back and say that we are overstocked. And so, I guess for me, I think it's absolutist, and we should consider changing that policy.
Or Mike, would you consider, just to be consistent with number 14, to change that word all to any?
Well, it doesn't really. It says the same thing. Yeah. So.
If you want a lawyerly suggestion,
lawyerly suggestions.
Here to with?
Well, no.
I'm going to pay you, right?
You might consider something like oppose all state legislation or state agency action or proposal that would unreasonably reduce.
Ooh, I like it. Can we do that? Thank you. I would be very happy about that.
I accept that. But David, could you weigh in on this? Because I think I recall where this came about, and it was one of our planning processes where the public was stating emphatically no net loss of coastal dependent industrial zoning land.
That's exactly right. It goes back several years, and it was really an effort to retain local control. That's why it's limited to state and federal agency coming up with restrictions. That I think back in that day, you thought that was up to the harbor district or the county or something to help make those calls. Plus, as we heard today, the coastal dependent industrial isn't just absolutely port related. There's several conditional uses for those pieces of property.
I agree, but the amendment, I think, is where.
Well, the other thing is that you heard it tonight that as the coastal waters rise, why we're allowed to have a lot of coastal water. So maybe more than 1,000 acres. We may have 2,000 acres.
I think we can live with unreasonable for as much as we've used this legislative priority. On the other hand, it's fuzzy, and so that makes it a little harder to define what that really means.
So I think you just have to come back to the board for it, what it means. It just doesn't give you ubiquitous ability to oppose something as a staff person.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And remember, part of the reason for these legislative priorities is if something pops up and we need action next week or a letter next week, if I have to come back to the board, we'd probably miss the opportunity. So this is sort of a pre-selection for some things. Again, it's a pretty rare one that anybody's ever worried over. So I think unreasonable will be fine.
Okay. I have a question. Where did do we have an example of this? Number 14, oppose any state legislation that mandates a duplication of harbor district's local authority powers and duties. And I guess, is this a concern for, what's sort of the latest, where does that pop up from, and what's that coming from?
I believe there has been threats that people would destroy the harbor district and create their own harbor district.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
In their own image. And so I think this was something to just ensure that the board was together on saying this Harbor Recreation and Conservation District with the powers and authorities the state gave it is the Harbor Recreation and Conservation District in Humboldt County.
Okay. And then number 15, which is oppose all unsubstantiated proposals to list Humboldt Bay as impaired for any water quality constituent.
And that actually should be number 22.
Oh, it should be?
Yes.
Did I have the wrong list?
No,
No, it's just.
it just it goes from 20 to 14, 15, 16 on the state.
Oh,
So,
wow. Good details there. Okay, so number 20. Does that mean that we would support substantiated proposals to list Humboldt Bay as impaired for water quality constituents?
I don't know why we wouldn't consider that.
And so, I guess for me,
Remember the
unsubstantiated is by us. And so.
Exactly. It's like the dioxin one.
Right.
There was questions that
Mhm.
that information was sufficient to levy the ruling. So if it is substantiated,
Right.
then this one doesn't apply.
So, all right. Then, okay, there's a couple that we did last year that are missing from this. One is supporting the California Coastal Trail. I was kind of wondering, did that drop off here, or did I just miss it? Is it in
Sorry,
here?
I believe it got folded in with another one. Which one? It'd take me a minute to find it.
Okay.
Number 8,
Number 8.
under the state of California.
Oh, thank you. Oh, there it is. Yep, it got moved up. Okay, I'm sorry.
there it is, Mike, you found the trail.
I found it. The other one was, I know one was removed. It was request the California Department of Waterways or Wildlife Conservation Board to approve funding for improvements to boat ramps and parking lots at County's Field Landing, which I.
That happened.
Yeah, that happened. But what about the city of Arcata?
It's still there.
It's
6.
there.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, they're getting moved. I was comparing one to the other and they're moving around. So maybe this one is still in there. The water trail, is that still in there?
It's still there.
This is great. Moving right through these. Number 9 under local agencies, which is the encourage Humboldt County to explore renovations to rock slope protection on Lower Mad River in the vicinity of Canal School Road. My question is to minimize flooding of Mad River Slough. Is that really what it's supposed to do?
Yes.
Okay. It's not to protect properties and blah, blah, blah on the top of the slope?
This was actually one that Jeff had done some research into and worked with some of the oyster growers that were up there in Mad River Slough. And once in a while it overtops, and there's really outside of ag land and the county road, there's really nothing that else gets impacted property-wise. I believe there may be a house in there somewhere, but so it was more keeping the floodwaters in the Mad River.
Okay. Great. I'm done.
Okay, any other comments? And if not, we.
Well, Roy, I just want to say that I have a few reservations, like 5 out of 43, but I think that this is really imperative that we do go to the legislators and make ourselves heard and known, and so in the spirit of cooperation, I'm just going to blow by those and
Thank you.
join in the firmament.
Roy, I have a question. If we're on the motion, yeah, we have, as I see it, we have 2 amendments.
Yeah.
One was number 8 under feds for the dam removal, and the other one, I believe, was under the state, number 13,
Oh, and
Unreasonable.
and unreasonable. Right?
yeah, and by the way, that one's repeated again. That unreasonable one that's in the local. So there's 3.
So we want to put
And the correction of the numbering under state.
right.
I don't endorse that.
Just confuse people.
Okay.
Hard nose over.
With the changes that we have discussed, is everyone ready to vote on the resolution?
Public comment?
Is there public comment on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Noel Madrone, thank you for the opportunity. I think it looks pretty good for the most part. I just had one clarification I wanted to offer for you, and also one suggestion. In regards to trails and private property, we deal with that issue a lot in trail planning in Humboldt County, and the Hammond Trail in McKinleyville is a good example. The recent hole in the Hammond that connected up the north and south sections after a long wait, which has now got hundreds of people on it every day, was built through private property with willing property owners.
I understand.
We don't push trails through without permission and without working to actually solve the problems of those property owners. So there are
That was my concern, is to solve the problem before anything happened.
Absolutely. So they're all done in a way where you're solving problems for private landowners while also creating opportunities for the public.
Thank you.
And I think Hammond's a great example of that. The suggestion I have is to actually add one item under the federal government piece. For me, when I read number 8 under the federal government part, which you also spoke so strongly for just a few minutes ago, the idea of long-term health and recovery of the Klamath and Eel rivers, I agree that's great. But you really need to add one thing, and I would add this language. Perhaps it's a new item, 8A or whatever, 8B, and it reads like this: support adequate funding for comprehensive treatment of the erosion of the Eel River Canyon related to the railroad, whether or not the railroad is built again or not. We've heard about a lot of estimates over the last number of years to rebuild that railroad up the canyon, anywhere from $175 million to $500 million. I was asked as a professional to provide my estimates. I worked those up for the railroad, and my estimate was $1 billion or more. And the difference between my estimate and every other estimate you've ever looked at or the authority has looked at is that in my estimate, I recognize that those 20 or 30 landslides coming down and taking the tracks out every big stormy winter are rivers of mud and rock. And if we really want to reopen that railroad and restore the Eel River fisheries, or even if we don't open the railroad, there's massive erosion out there already. And in order to reopen it without making that worse and destroying our fisheries, completely violating this piece of your resolution, you need to bridge those landslides with suspension bridges. They're not real wide. They're only about 500 to 1,000 feet long, but they go up the mountain a mile. So it's physical. It is physically possible to engineer suspension bridges over those and actually have a stable railroad up that canyon. It would have been a lot better if we still had the 100-year-old redwoods that Eureka Southern stripped off the line, making it less stable when we lost the railroad. And I was on the Blue Lake Council in '84 and actually voted against railroad abandonment. I was the only public official in Humboldt County that voted against abandonment when we lost the railroad. So the point would be, you need to seek funding to deal with the erosion of the canyon if you really are supporting this number 8. Otherwise, it's really kind of a false promise.
Could you read that again?
Yeah, I can. It is to support adequate funding for comprehensive treatment of the erosion of the Eel River Canyon related to the railroad, whether the railroad is rebuilt or not. It's an obligation, and if you want to restore the Eel River fisheries, you've got to deal with this erosion. Thank you.
Well, I was going to say I could support the first part of that, but I would put a period after you're talking about comprehensive erosion, or I think that's how you ended it. I would relate it to anything. So I think I would just put a period there. I would accept that with that.
And is there a recognition that the estimates so far don't actually deal with erosion? Substantially long-term erosion, protection. They're all just to get the line back open, but not to actually deal with the problems.
No, I think what we're dealing with here are these imperatives or legislative imperatives. This is what we're putting down as watching what the federal government does in these particular areas. And
I'm just trying to think about this for a second. How do you
of course, it says the same thing.
I'm for this, but I'm not sure it's our business.
Well, I'm not sure that I think this is a railroad item myself, but
You could change it to support rather than seek. If you're supporting funding, the NCRA would get, or somebody that has maybe the appropriate authority to do it, rather than us actually going out and looking for funding to do it.
So would it be a separate bullet point?
Yeah.
And could you word something like that so I can accept the amendment? Or amend the motion, I mean?
Yeah,
Support.
You didn't say C, you said
I said support.
You got it.
I got it written here. Anyway.
Oh, wait a minute, let's see, wait just a second.
I concur, this is, you have nothing to lose. Even though some of these things aren't in your purview, you've got nothing to lose to support this as a community item, if nothing else.
Okay. But I kind of want to get the wording that,
And it would be bullet point 9, right?
yeah, just move
A
on.
standalone.
Yeah,
I think.
You wanna have it read back?
yes.
Please.
Is it support adequate funding for comprehensive treatment for erosion of the Eel River Canyon?
Of the erosion.
Preventing erosion?
We don't want to create erosion.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, for comprehensive treatment of the erosion up the Eel River Canyon.
period.
Period.
Well, that's your suggestion.
That's my suggestion, right.
Okay, I accept that. I'd like to add that in.
Take it.
Any further comments?
So I have a question. To what degree do you think the sediment coming into the eel from any source, including some of the 303 delisted for sediment impaired on the eel, is affecting the shoaling problem that's in the bay?
Oh, I think
Like
a lot.
95%.
Okay, so if you look at your, the causes and effects and the cures and so on, I mean, you got to deal with the causes of the problem, not just the symptoms.
Bingo.
That's within your purview. Who else is going to deal with the watershed that contributes that problem to the bay?
And we should add it to the TCIF funding.
Literal drift.
I'd just like to say, in the future, I think we should really look at the Marine Protection Act and have, by next year's recommendations, something on the MLPA, because I'm really concerned with the way it's shaping up. And I'd like to see maybe Recreation Subcommittee of the Harbor District take that up and craft a position so that we protect fishing access, and if anything is brought to us, that it's science-based and that we get on early so we're not responding at the last minute on something like that.
I think that's a good idea, and I know we did have it when it was an issue. I can't tell you how long ago, but several years ago it was one of our legislative priorities, so I'm sure we can
So why don't we
polish
put,
that up.
why don't we put it back on?
David?
I'll go look it up. I don't remember exactly what it
I
says.
got it right here.
Do you? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's why I got so confused last year's. Okay, hold on a second. Is it under the state one?
Scary.
State, yes, it would be a
At the
state.
end of the state,
Okay, hold on.
number 495.
It's CCRP.
I was so proud this year that we took some of these off.
Nice try.
Make room for more.
You sure it was under state?
Maybe not last year though, is what I'm thinking, because it was a few years ago when the Blue Ribbon Coalition was disbanded.
I thought I saw it.
So per Commissioner Higgins' suggestion, I think I'd like to add that on the list of state priorities.
As it was worded previously?
Well,
Or no, we don't.
I
Let's
can't really
take
say.
a crack at this. Okay, I gotta look it out here. I didn't realize the power of suggestion worked this strongly in this group. That the Marine Life Protection Act have sufficient funds to collect data to make sure that fishing closures improve fish stocks. Because, I mean, if there's more fish to catch, that's what we want. And we want it data-based. I don't know if I got that.
He's a data guy.
To add, with the goal of increasing fishing opportunity.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. That's what we're talking about. Otherwise, that dog don't hunt.
Sure, you say that.
So that's part of the amended?
Yes.
Do you have all that down, Patty?
I'm not sure. See if I can read it back. The MLPA has sufficient funds to collect data to make sure fish closures increase fish stock with the goal of increasing fishing opportunities.
Change the front part, because since we're seeking support from legislators to fully fund the MLPA.
Thank you. That's it, no passive voice.
Fully fund the MLPA to collect data, to make sure fish closures increase fish stock with the goal of increasing fishing opportunities.
That's pretty good.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Pete, you have a comment?
I just want to make sure that this last idea, which is quite noble, doesn't conflict with the problem that we had the last time that they came up, 4 years ago, and wanted to establish this. They wanted to put one around Trinidad, and then that would have, they said, oh, there's no problem, your boaters can just drive an hour, an extra, or 10 miles extra. So as long as what you have there allows for examination of what they're actually proposing fits the North Coast, and they did that without ever visiting the North Coast or talking to anybody up here. And they didn't realize what a dangerous coast this was. And, oh, you can just go fish 10 miles away from...
Or a dangerous place to hold a meeting, Pete, if they haven't consulted us first.
Yeah, but I think, I'm hoping that this gets us into the game earlier. Yeah, but I just want to make sure that that doesn't preclude that examination, and I didn't understand it completely enough to...
When they came up here and they had the meeting at the Wharfinger,
Yes.
I didn't need to say a thing because the public was handling it quite well. I went up to the guy afterwards, scientist to scientist, and I said, where is the data to support these closures that shows there'll be benefits to the fish stocks and for fish
We dry labbed it in
access?
Sacramento.
And he said, we will never have the money to do it and we have to do something.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that's coming back, make my day, baby. I mean, it's just like it ain't going down. There you go.
Any further discussion? If not, we will have a roll call vote on this, please.
Commissioner Pellegrini?
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Commissioner Higgins?
Aye.
Next item is consideration of extension of permit 0305 to the Obages for renovation of boat launching marina facilities at Easy Landing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we extend the permit 0305 for renovation of the boat launching marina facilities at Easy Landing. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Were there any administrative or emergency permits?
Not this time.
If not,
Hey Roy, just one quick comment. You set another record, but this one was on the other end.
I know. Unfortunately, I didn't have a damn thing to do with it. Meeting adjourned.
City of Arcata style.
But I lost mine.
Seems so long.